Hotep Senu Hena Senut Et Ren-I Shakandugu Kemet. I hope there's no denial. You are happy like the Nile. This pre-recorded video is about the ancient Egyptians saying what their hieroglyphic signs represented. I'm reading from the book called Sacred Signs, Hieroglyphs in Ancient Egypt by Dr. Penelope Wilson, PhD. I've shown her credential in my previous video. This is page 98. She wrote, "It is likely that all scribes learned hieratic, but only those who became draftsmen or priests learned hieroglyphs. The recognizable training texts which have survived are mostly in hieratic, and clearly this was the most useful script to learn. Very few learning aids such as dictionaries have survived from Egypt, perhaps because of overuse, but some word lists and an occasional grammatical paradigm do exist. The Tanis sign papyrus has columns for a hieroglyph, the hieratic equivalent, then a brief note in hieratic of what the sign is. For example, you have the hieroglyphic sign, which is Gardner reference D21. Is described as mouth of a human being. So we are told that some dictionaries have survived, even though it's very few, but still some dictionaries have survived. We are told about the tiny sign papyrus, and it explains that we have the hieroglyphic script, then the hieratic equivalent, and a brief note saying what the sign is. Here, this is the same book, pages 98 to 99. She wrote, "The arrangements of the word lists, onomastica, are interesting because they suggest the way in which the Egyptians thought about their language and also their world. The onomasticon of Amenemope is divided into sections of groups of words which refer to the same idea, words for sky, water, and earth, administrative titles and occupations, classes, tribes, and types of human beings, towns of Egypt, buildings and types of land, agricultural land, cereals and products, beverages and parts of cattle, and cuts of meats. If these were used as teaching aids for spelling or for administrative and tax reference, the standard terms would then have been consistently used by scribes throughout Egypt and seem to reflect the usual pragmatic approach of the Egyptians. The New Kingdom examples of such texts seem very clumsy, though, as the words are simply written in horizontal lines following one from another, collecting all the information together in one place. It must have been difficult to find the word you needed. It seems that by this time the texts were being copied and perhaps were intended as backup copies, with scribes memorizing appropriate chunks. The Middle Kingdom Ramesseum onomasticon is much more useful as it is set out in columns and each entry can be clearly seen. It contains, for example, a list of cattle markings showing the particular sign which was to be used for a particular type of bull. Now, this is a screen capture. I'm sorry, a picture that I've taken from the book because I do own the actual physical book. It's easier than just looking for the glyphs. So then it says the watch sign. It is a red bull. So you do have the reference. This is the Ramesseum onomasticon. Finally, this is a screen capture from a video that I have uploaded, as you can see, 2 years ago. Walter Williams has passed away. But once again, this was made 2 years ago because he did issue a public challenge. He said that he will offer, I wasn't about the money, but he will offer $1,000 if somebody can show a single hieroglyph and say what it means. So I showed a few. For example, here this is an axe. I think I showed some animals, probably a cat, probably a horse, but you have the title of the video so you can look it up. That was 2 years ago. I don't remember from the top of my head every single sign list that I have shown. Hieroglyphic signs that I have shown. But what I want to deal with here is a comment that was left in the chat. Now we have this individual here who first greeted by Hotep, and then he wrote, but there's no winning the challenge. There are no ancient Egyptians around to verify your findings. Well, the ancient Egyptians did say what the signs represents, and I've cited a PhD. So I'm just curious. I'm not asking, but I'm just curious if this individual or anybody else who feels the same way, just because one person says something in summary, because we were not there when they wrote the signs and we don't know what the signs mean, I'm wondering what they will say now. So finally, he wrote, he didn't say what Gardner says it means. He said what the ancient Egyptians say it was. The way he framed the question, it's unwinnable. And then he added, he will dismiss everything you're saying because there are no ancient Egyptians to verify this translation. But for the record, I think I play, because usually I play what people say, so we can cut the little man. But from memory, he said that he will offer $1,000 if someone show a single glyph and say what the glyph represents. But anyway, thanks for watching.